Hey everybody, it's Queen Jelly and welcome to or welcome back to the Toy Box. Today we're going to be opening some Moana dolls. But before we get there, I do have some things to say. So as always, don't forget to use the timestamps down below if you're interested only in particular things, especially because we will be opening two different things today. But I'm going to start off with a small bit of kind of a rant, kind of just like a future of the channel type of discussion. So stick around if you're interested. If not, I totally understand. So here I originally talked for about 15 minutes because it was the first place I really had to talk through and think about my feelings on the firing of Bill Greening at Mattel. And although I am incredibly disappointed and disgusted by the choice to do so in favor of AI creation, I think at this time I will be continuing to purchase from Mattel, just with a little bit more thought put into my decisions before buying a doll. Really want to make sure that I'm looking at the design and determining if it's something that I truly like or not. Not that I don't do that already, especially as of lately, but I just want to make sure that it is known that I don't do these things lightly. But right now, dolls are one of the few things that still bring me joy, and so therefore I'm choosing not to give them up entirely, especially considering as design processes tend to work a year to two ahead of time, and so it will still be a little bit before we start to see the changes based on this decision. I hope that makes sense, and we're going to go ahead and skip from here. For instance, today both of my things were purchased from Target. This is a Jakk specific set, and this is a Mattel doll. I really like this character, and this is the only doll of her right now, which I didn't even know this one existed until we were in the Target, and she was sitting on the shelf, and I was shook, and I immediately got her because I love this character. But I even looked on Shop Disney and everything, and Shop Disney has this one listed. They don't have their own version. They have the Mattel version listed on Shop Disney, which Shop Disney used to only carry their own dolls. They never carried other companies' dolls, but now they carry Mattel's and Jakk specific, as well as their story collection. But the storybook collection only has the core characters in it. So they have a Moana one, but it's from Moana, not Moana 2. So the only way to get this character as a doll right now, without, purchasing a custom, is this $14.99 Mattel version as a regular fashion doll, or this one that has her in there as the mini Jakks doll. And these aren't normally my style of doll, but that's how much I wanted dolls of this character. It also comes with a little bat. So I got them even though they were a little bit smaller than the ones that I like. I'm gonna go ahead, turn around, get these unboxed. But in the meantime, as usual, don't forget to do those fun YouTube things like, comment, and subscribe, so that way we can send videos out into the algorithm so more people can find them, but also that you can find them again in the future if you enjoy our content. All right, so now that we're on the desk, I just need to clarify a few things. First, one, if you saw my last video, no. If not, that's totally fine. My phone stand did break, so unfortunately this will be mostly hand cam, so I do apologize that it's not as steady as usual, and there might be some angles that I missed or stuff, especially when it comes to unboxing. Number two, I kind of briefly went over it, but I just want to make sure that it's clear. This was a $34.99 set, and this was $14.99 USD. I did purchase them on a sale where if you spent $50 or more on toys, then you got $10 back. Unfortunately, they're like 4 cents shy to 4 cents, somewhere in there. Somewhere between 2 and 4 cents shy of triggering that. So I did add on another cheap doll to make it where I got the bounce back. And then because it was my second purchase within X amount of time that was over X amount of money, I did also get a $15 bounce back. So in total, I kind of saved closer to $25 on these two, but that's girl mathing it because the $15 was not immediate. That will be for a future purchase, but I'm just saying that is how I got these, just, for sake of clarity. This is a Jakk specific set that is Target exclusive. I believe you can purchase these two individually, but Matangi is only in this set as far as I can tell. I did try to find her individually to see if it was like that she was exclusive or the combination of all three of them were. This one does also come with additional accessories that I don't think you could get if you bought them separately. And I do want to say really quickly, because I already know that I kind of butchered her name, I apologize. I've only watched the movie once, but I did really enjoy it, and I really liked her specifically. So that was why as soon as I found these, I bought them, because these are actually currently the only dolls that are available of Matangi. And I also really liked Loto because she appears, in my opinion, to have ADHD. And so I really liked her representation. And then of course Moana is awesome. So this set is really fun, and I'm going to go ahead and unbox one thing at a time. We'll start with the Mattel doll here. A reminder, if you are interested in particularly one or the other of these sets, I will put timestamps down below so that you can skip to whichever set you would like. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and start unboxing. So before we unbox, we will take a closer look at the packaging for Matangi. This is going to be a blister package style. So the whole front is this big plastic clear window. It does have some detailing molded into it that looks like a flower here and a stalk. And then Moana here on the front. It says Moana 2 and then has her name on it. You can see the doll, which is pretty nice. And then the back is a solid piece of cardboard, and it says Matangi. Matangi is a mysterious, charismatic, and mischievous demigod that Moana encounters on her quest. Okay, I actually thought that she was a full member of the Pantheon, but apparently she is not. She is just another demigod. So that is interesting to know. Here is the new Disney logo that is just a Mickey head, which I still find hilarious. Pretty simple packaging, so I don't think we need to spend much more time on it. So let's go ahead and get her out. And here she is out of the box. So just like her box, she is a very simple doll. And that was a very fairly easy unboxing experience. Unfortunately, she did still have some plastic tabs in the back of her head, which you saw. Several dolls lately that I have unboxed have not had those plastic tabs, so the ones that do now are even more irritating than they were before. I've always hated those, but now that it's possible to pack these dolls without those, so the fact that they continue to still use them just is even more infuriating. But anyway, as you can see, she is standing on her own because she does have flat feet, so she does not need a stand, which is really nice. We will go over her articulation in a little bit, but for now we'll start with our head to toe as usual. So she has this headpiece up here, which I will say that everything on her is as fairly accurate as I can recall. Again, I have only seen the movie once, but it was, you know, fairly recently, so I feel like this is pretty accurate. She has this green piece here with some flowers on it, and then some yellow leaves on this side, and then she has her hair, which is about elbow length It is relatively soft. It's not the softest hair fibers, but it's also not like super dry or anything. So it might actually be a good fiber. If it is poly, it is well treated. Here is a close-up of her face. She has one eyebrow that's slightly raised over the other, which is very popular with a lot of the Disney dolls. But especially they kind of use that to kind of convey a little bit more like personality, a little bit more mischievous type of doll. And she definitely is a bit more of a mischievous character, although I wouldn't consider her to be the villain, but maybe that's a little spoilery. And then she has these gorgeous purple eyes. She does have a little birthmark under this eye here. And then she has kind of burgundy, kind of purple lips on. And then she has this plastic piece here for her collar that has white paint on it, little details. It kind of looks like fur. So this part is currently rubber banded on, but does open in the back. And then the cape is actually a separate piece that velcros in the front. So that is nice that we have layers. There is this printed pattern on the outside of her cape, but then on the outside on the inside it is solid material, but that is pretty accurate again to the character. Right now it is tacked together. But these are kind of her like main motif is bats, so these kind of form her like bat wing. And then for her dress, it is just printed on, but the printing does go all the way around the back, which is nice. And you can see there are clear straps. Sorry, this is not easy to do with one hand. She does have this gold trim here at the top, again printed on, but it does appear that she has stitched edges to at least keep it from fraying, which is nice. And then she has this printed on belt here, which does appear to be multiple layers again in the printing. It's really, again, for printing, nice detail. And then she has this trim here on the edge of the skirt. Now the bottom does not appear to be hemmed, but it is most likely burned in order to keep it from fraying, but again, can't be sure on that. And then she does have a wrist cuff down here. It is just a solid brown piece of plastic that clips on. Articulation, it is the standard point. She has head, shoulder, hips. The hip joint does not go very far out to the side, but it does have a full range front, but it does not actually go back like at all, so that's interesting. But yeah, so very, very basic points of articulation, but again, she does have the flat feet, so she can stand on her own, which is a nice touch. For $14.99, it is what I kind of expect from Mattel, so not the best doll of all times, but what I kind of expect for this price range, especially for the Disney princess line, or Disney character line, I guess I should say, because this is part of the Moana dolls as opposed to part of the princess collection. Because right now Moana 2 is still fairly new as far as merchandising goes, so they still have their own separate line. But I think that's all I have on the 11-inch doll, so I guess we will go ahead and switch to the 9-inch mini set. So here are the mini dolls. Like I said, it is 3 of them. I got it for $34.99. The minis by themselves tend to range between $10 and $15, but usually just come with just the doll, maybe one accessory. So like the conch shell and the extra pets are definitely additional to the set, as well as, like I said, this is the only way I've been able to find Matangi. But this is a Jakk specific set, and it says Moana 2, and then it has their name on it. It says Petite gift set, because that is the, like, if you search Petite Disney dolls, that's when you will find these ones. Moana 2, Moana, Loto, and Matangi Petite gift set recreate the story of your favorite wayfinder Moana as she sets out on her journey to find a legendary new island. Meet her new friends Loto and Matangi as they help her on her adventure. Again, potentially spoilery. I know, like, some places she's listed as the villain, some places she is not. And I think it kind of just depends on how you look at the story. And I think she's kind of supposed to be like a twist, I think, but I don't know. here is the bottom of the box. Apparently mine got a little crushed, but that's okay because I don't keep the boxes. I think that's all I have to say about it though. Again, very simple packaging, just a nice big blister on the front so you can see them, and then just a little info on the back. So we'll go ahead and get them out. Quick side note with unboxing, it was super easy to unbox these, but with that being said, because there was no like tape or anything like that, I did find a few in the store that were popped open in the side. Not like anyone took anything kind of popped open, just like the plastic had kind of squished out while in shipping. So that's just something to be aware of, especially if you like are in box or something like that, that you have to kind of make sure that you look at them, because again, some of them are squished and some of them the tabs will pop out on the side. But again, there was nothing wrong with the dolls in those sets. It was just something that kind of probably happened during shipping. And here they are out of the box. These are actually the first ones, at least that I can recall having, of this particular style of doll. I've never really gravitated toward these. It's kind of interesting because I was thinking about it as I was unboxing, that I do typically like very stylized dolls. And I do also like small dolls because they're nice to carry around. And there's just something about these ones particularly that I've never really been that interested in. I think it's just because they are based on the Disney characters that are not stylized like this. And so when they do get stylized like this, it doesn't really look like them. Plus, it almost gives off knockoff vibes farther than stylized vibes, if that makes sense. Like, it feels like they're just kind of like almost uncanny valley. Like, they're very similar to the Disney characters, especially like their faces can be very accurate, but then the bodies are very like toddler-esque. And so they like especially like with Matangi here, like that looks like her normal face, but then her body is like a toddler body. So it's just kind of this like interesting juxtaposition. I actually I'm not hating it. The more I'm looking at it, the more I like it. I do feel like it stands out a lot more on Loto here than it does on the other two. And I do feel like Moana's face has been adjusted a little bit more for the more like toddler sized bodies. So like I'm not hating it, but I can also see like why I really haven't gotten these in the past. Again, I do appreciate that they do stand on their own, which is always a plus. And then the accessories that they come with are also really nice. So here is the tool for Loto. Again, I apologize if I'm saying their names wrong. And then here's Pua, which is a nice solid chunk of plastic. Which I know is not always the best thing, but these are nice and sturdy. They are good for play. He does have a lot of really nice painted details on him. His, face is not like wonky or anything. Then we have the shell here, which does have this here so that we can actually put it on Moana's hand, which is really cool. And then here is her oar. And it does have all this amazing detail on it, as well as the signature from Maui. super cute. And then we have Hey Hey, which again is done in a really good detail. This is a little bit more flexible, but these definitely feel like pieces that you get in like PVC sets. And here is the bat. Unfortunately, they do not have a name, but they are super adorable. I like the little like questioning eyebrow. He's like, are you like for real? And he's in this really cute like squatted pose so that way he can stand on his wings. So I think that's a really nice detail. And then as for the dolls, she has a lot of really curly hair, which is really nice. And then this one like lighter brown curl here in the front. It does actually streak all the way back into her hairline, which is nice. And then here is her face. Again, really cute. I think it looks fairly accurate. Again, she just, to me, feels the most like out of proportion with the rest of her body though, as far as her face goes. And then again, they kind of give almost like baby doll, which is not something that I typically collect. So I think that's also a little bit of what throws me off of them. But having these ones, I really like the quality of them. So I may get more of these in the future. But she has brown eyes, brown eyebrows, a beauty mark here on her cheek, light brown lips, and then she actually has two pieces. Now this does not have a lot of quality to it. The materials used for their outfits are very rough, that kind of like plasticky clothing material that we see a lot on cheaper dolls. But it does have a lot of printing on it, and the printing does go all the way around the back. They are in fact two pieces. They just sit really closely together here in the waist on the back, because at first I thought they were sewn together, but they are in fact two separate pieces. And then I like that this down here is actually frayed like the grass, so you can see it's kind of split into a bunch of little pieces, so that's a nice detail. But it looks like a skirt that's kind of like wrapped around her waist, and no shoes or anything, but again, that does allow them to stand on their own, which is really nice. And then Moana has this flower in her hair. It is on a headband that is currently clipped into her hair, so I will be keeping it that way. Her hair is actually pretty soft. It is a little dry at the end, so it might just be treated poly, but again, that is not something to quote me on, but it is fairly nice. She does have cute eyes with the little brown eyebrows, little brown eyes, light pink lips. She has a clothed mouth smile as opposed to Lota's open mouth smile. And then for her necklace, it's actually painted on. Unfortunately, it does not go all the way around the back, but I do like that it's painted on rather than them just going, well, she just won't have a necklace because we don't give out small parts. Because again, these are intended for a little bit of a younger demographic. So I do like the painted on effect of it instead. And then she has also two pieces, it appears. Yes, two pieces. So she has this cream top with one sleeve and then this red skirt. Again, the printing does go all the way around the back. They Velcro separately, and then she has this adorable little fringe cuts here at the bottom. This is Moana's new outfit from the second movie. And then here is Matangi. And then she has, again, that really soft hair with a little bit of dryness at the ends, but nothing terrible. And she also has a headband, which is this green leafy piece here with some pink flowers on it. And then here is her face screening. She has a little bit more brown tones to her lips, but otherwise really nice. The sculpting looks really good. Let's see these two side by side. So you can see that they are pretty similar in face shape. Again, just a little bit rounder and a little bit larger. I'd kind of be interested to see what they look like with a head swap. The head obviously would still be larger on her than it really needs to be, because this is properly sized. It's not like it's undersized, but I just gotta be funny to see what they look like with the head swap. But here is her collar piece. So it is also a separate, like, thick, chunky plastic. Again, nice big size. Not have to worry about being like swallowed too much. And then she also has a separate Velcroed cape on. But her dress is one piece, but it should be. It is a single dress. And this is actually additional, it's sewn on, but it's an additional layer on top of it. So it's not just printed on. The waistband is actually sewn on and does go all the way around the back. There is no slit on this one, but it still has the printing on the side like how the slit does. So you can see on the big one, there's the slit, but that is not on the little one. But again, it is printed with that same pattern. So that's really nice. And then here's the inside of the cape, a little bit tanner of a color. And then here is the back with that design on it. And this back actually feels pretty soft. I like this material that they used for this printed side. The underside is kind of a silky material, almost plasticky, but a little bit softer. And then this side is a little bit more cottony, I would say. And then her dress is also a little bit more of that like cheap silky material, but more silky material than like, say, like this like crunchy plastic. So I do feel like a little bit more budget went into her, to be honest, than the other two. And that could be because she is the exclusive one, to kind of give like a little bit more incentive towards her. Again, especially because these ones are probably like already designed. So then they had a little bit more budget to work on her. But that's just my opinion. But I'm obviously not upset about it because I definitely bought the set to get her. Because again, I really enjoyed this movie and especially this character. So I wanted to get the only versions of her that are out there right now as far as dolls. So that's why I got these two. I think I'm ready to go to final thoughts though. So let's go ahead and move to that part. As I kind of was showing, like as I showed the little one, this kind of side by side, it's kind of interesting the way that they approached these two dolls of the same character. They both look very similar, but have like slightly different places where they have different details. I almost feel like the mini doll is actually a little bit more detailed than the big doll, which is kind of funny. As far as price points, they're fairly similar. Like I said, if you break it down, she's roughly $10 to $12 for each dolls in the mini doll set. But then again, you also have the 3 pets and 3 accessories that come with it as well, which of course are going to add to that cost. So that's why I'm saying like I take the $4, and that's kind of the 4 pets and the 4 accessories, and then so like each of these are like $10 for the actual like doll. And then it was $14 for the full-size doll. And so, like, I feel like they're roughly comparable to, like, as far as, like, quality and, like, material and stuff. But like I said, I feel like there was a little bit more detail going in on these ones, which doesn't surprise me considering, again, as these are actually Jakk-specific dolls, whereas this is a Mattel doll. And I feel like Jakks does a better job implementing their funding and, like, using it to, like, actually, like, feed the dolls and make them better, whereas Mattel kind of has to fight with their funding because they don't really get what they should when it comes to dolls, especially with something like this where it's going to be a little bit more hit or a miss whether or not these are going to sell, because she is, you know, essentially a secondary character in a second movie. So it's really kind of hit or miss, especially because she was kind of marketed as like the villain. So I can understand why they would be a little bit hesitant to make like a lot of different versions of her, but I do kind of hope that she sells well enough that they do make a Disney Store version of her, because the Disney Store versions usually are a lot more detailed, and I would really like to see especially an articulated version of her rather than just the basic 5 points. For a starter, it's not the worst thing ever. I'm sure that people out there will find made to move matches or articulated matches for her. I don't care to spend the extra money on a doll just for their body. So for me, she will stay on this body, but I'm sure that there are people out there, if you are interested in her, that will be able to tell you what swap to do with her. She's a very chocolatey colored skin, so I'm not sure if there's a exact match for her, but like literally, like she looks like I could just eat her because she's so shiny. She literally looks like chocolate, like milk chocolate. I mean that in the best way possible. Like as far as her skin tone goes, I just personally mean like the plastic itself literally looks like I could just eat it. And I like both of them for their own reasons, but I do think that I wish that this amount of detail was on this doll, because that would be perfect then, because I really like the like color gradient here on this part here. I like that this is an actual additional piece on top. I do like that the cape kind of is two different textures, one on the bottom, one on the top. I almost feel like this kind of does the same thing, except it has it reversed, where like the softer textures on the bottom and then the more plasticky textures kind of on the top. But I think I like the softer plastic being on top. But then again, with this one, I feel like you hold her more like this with your hand underneath the cape, and this one you'd hold more with your hand over the cape. But again, that's for me and my, you know, adult size hands. I do like that both of them can stand on their own. That is 100% a plus. The little one does not have the like wrist cuff that this one does, and she also has a different like style of the way that they did the headpiece. So like this one's a headband, but that makes sense because that's also how it is on Moana. And again, it also makes it a slightly larger piece because again, these are, in my opinion, intended for a little bit younger of a demographic, whereas this is technically a little bit smaller, but it's still nice and big, so you could still give this to the same age kids. But I just feel like this is kind of aimed at a little bit younger than this is, but that's just my opinion on it. Again, obviously as an adult, like, I still want these, so what age they're aimed at and all that kind of stuff is very ambiguous, I guess. But obviously when they design things, they always think of a particular market. So again, I'm getting rambly. This is the second video that I filmed in a row, and it's already been a long day, so I think I'm ready to wrap it up. But overall, again, I have my feelings on Mattel as a company as a whole that are probably going to come into play in the future, but for right now, I enjoy this doll for what she is as a Disney doll. I think that she is well done. And then these little ones are absolutely adorable. Again, they do kind of give a little bit of an uncanny valley, but they are definitely starting to grow on me, so we may see some more of these in my collection in the future. And thank you so much as always for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you very soon in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye. Stick around to find out who we unbox next. All right, moment of truth in 3, 2, 1. Oh no.